The province admits one of its marquee mass transit projects is busting the budget and falling further and further behind schedule. The Surrey to Langley extension, now estimated to cost $6 billion. Emily Lazatin joins us now from King George SkyTrain station in Surrey, where the new extension is set to begin. Emily, what's the government saying about the increase here?
Well, Chris, it is low-cost construction, but again, as you said, it's coming in at a very, very high cost. So it's now pegged at $5.996 billion to be exact. And like you said, let's just call it $6 billion at this point. And it is split into 3 contracts. We've already known that's what the government said. But that final number today, or not the final number, I should say, but the number today, the $6 billion, is based on the government awarding this last contract. So initially in 2017, the proposed estimate was $1.4 billion. And it was to be completed in 2 phases, phase 1 by 2025 and phase 2 by 2030. Now, as of July 2022, the completion date for the entire project was end of 2028 with a projected cost of $3.94 billion. As of December 2023, the completion date was still the end of 2028. However, projected costs climbed to about $4 billion, and today, $6 billion. The Transportation Ministry says a 2022 business case for the extension doesn't reflect current-day market conditions, and the increase in price is in response to inflation, rising commodity prices, labor market challenges, all of this resulting in higher proposals from contractors.
But the choice is this for government. Do you reduce the project? Do you scrap the project? Or do you build it knowing that the benefits are massive for the economy, for shaping growth instead of chasing growth out in the fast-growing area of Surrey, Township of Langley, and the City of Langley? We want to move ahead with this project because the benefits are massive.
What concerns me is that we're actually not seeing anything really built. We're seeing delays, but we're not seeing then anything getting to the finish line at this point. When you look at the transportation infrastructure that we need in the Lower Mainland, this government has been consistently late and delayed.
All right, they just awarded that last contract, Emily. What's the impact on the construction schedule here?
Well, it's not only going to cost more, Chris, it's going to arrive later. Major construction is still slated to start before the end of the year. However, the completion date has now been pushed back by a year to 2029. We'll send it back to you.
All right, patience, we hope, will pay off. Thanks, Emily. Let's get straight to Keith Baldrey now with more on this. Keith, the SkyTrain project we just talked about is not the only project in this province that's facing delays and cost overruns.
Not by any means, Chris. You know, the government's got dozens and dozens of infrastructure projects on the go at any given time. But we've seen in recent years, as Emily just pointed out, a number of factors leading to cost overruns over the initial budget estimates, but not so much in transportation, but particularly when it comes to hospitals. Take a look at some of the hospitals over budget or over original estimates. And this is just a partial list, folks. Surrey's second hospital, $1.2 billion higher than expected. Richmond Hospital, $1.1 billion. Cowichan District Hospital, one of the biggest overruns of all, almost doubling at $850 million more than originally budgeted. And the recently announced Prince George Hospital Tower, $900 million more. Some of these increases are the result of larger scope of projects. It literally means more hospital beds. But the fact is, a number of factors go into raising costs on these infrastructure projects. And it raises the question, what about the other 2 big projects out there when it comes to transportation? The Patel Bridge, a replacement project, and the Broadway subway line. We talked to Transportation Minister Rob Fleming today. He says that's not quite apples and apples. Those projects began early enough to avoid some of the big cost overrun headaches associated with the newer projects. Here's the minister.
We're managing those pressures because those projects are at halfway or more completion rates. So, you know, we had the years behind when those projects were undertaken before record inflation rates happened and other pressures. So it's a different set of circumstances than when you go out to the market now in the year 2024. Having seen now embedded costs around labor rates, construction materials, interest during construction, those sorts of things that are a reality for governments of any political stripe.
So we haven't even got around to mentioning what could be the biggest overrun of all when it comes to original cost estimates, and that's the Fraser River Tunnel Replacement Project, or the Massey Tunnel Replacement Project, pegged right now at $4 billion. You can be sure, folks, it's going to cost a heck of a lot more than that when all is said and done. That's probably going to be approaching $6, $7, $8 billion. The numbers are going to be staggering. That project, of course, still in its infancy and a number of years away from completion.
Amazing. We still have to wait for that one, too. Thanks very much, Keith.